Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all. My name is Fazlina binti Haruna Rasid, and today I'm going to present to you my research proposal on the title The Experiences and Challenges of Primary School Teachers in Kuantan with regards to PdPR during COVID-19 pandemic. So let's go to chapter 1. The background of the study. Due to COVID-19, Malaysian government has announced MCO to control the pandemic, so all sectors are closed except the essential ones. As all schools are closed, the PdPR was introduced to replace the teaching and learning in classroom. PdPR can be synchronous or asynchronous, and this refer to virtual teaching and learning in this study. Now we go to problem statement. Adapting to the new norm is not easy for the teachers, as teachers need to ensure that teaching and learning will take place. So, teachers need to move to online teaching, and there are many problems and challenges faced by the teachers, so we need to identify the measures on how to solve the problems. Objectives of the study are: number 1, is to understand the lived experiences of primary school teachers in Kuantan, Malaysia during the pandemic. Number 2 is to investigate the challenges that the teachers are facing throughout their virtual teaching process. Number 3 is to explore the effects of the challenges to the teachers' well-being physically and psychologically. The research questions are: number 1, what are the experiences of primary school teachers in Kuantan during pandemic? Number 2, what are the challenges faced by the primary school teachers in Kuantan during virtual teaching and learning? And number 3, how do challenges affect the teachers' well-being? Theoretical framework. There are some learning theories used in this research. Number 1 is transformative learning theory, and number 2, self-determination theory. The significance of the study. We have to know the teacher's perception and the challenges that they face to give new insight among school leaders about the importance of teachers' well-being. And we have to discover and find the problems faced by the teachers during PdPR, and by doing that, this will affect students' performance and achievement later. And there is also no study done in Kuantan, Malaysia related to this. The limitations of the study. Number 1, since there are only 4 teachers selected in this study, it is a small sample size and will not present the whole population of Malaysian. Number 2 is only localized in Kuantan and doesn't cover the whole population of teachers in Malaysia. It is a phenomenological research which uses interview, and as we all know, it is subjective in nature. The interpretation of the teacher or researcher is also have biasness. Next we go to chapter 2, the literature review. Okay, the review of main issues. In this part, we will explain the virtual teaching and learning in PdPR, which refers to synchronous or asynchronous online teaching and learning, and it is a home-based teaching, or it is also called a distance or virtual learning and teaching. Number 2, in this part, we will also explain the challenges on virtual teaching and learning through the studies done before, for example, lack of exposures and skills by the teachers on the hardware and software, lack of motivation of the teachers and students, and there are some problems related to tools and internet connection. And number 3, in this part, we will explain about teachers' well-being, physically affected, as well as psychologically. Then we go to theories underpinning in this study. There are 2 theories related that we can relate in this study. Number one is transformative learning theory. In this theory, the changes of frame of learning, for example, during this pandemic that requires the learner or in this situation, the teacher themselves to adapt and change the problem to the learning opportunity. Number two is self-determination theory or SDT. In this part, the teachers have to self-motivate by fulfilling their psychological needs in this pandemic, in this PdPR, in learning to learn new technique in teaching so that learning will be maximized. So let's go to the empirical research. There are actually studies, lots of studies done all around the world. And here I will present to you two studies. First one is a study done in Indonesia. It is found out by Ras Mitadila that students' poor participation in virtual learning is because of lack of devices and poor internet connection. And there's also a study done in Malaysia by Nur Hazliza and Maslawati. The use of Google Classroom during MCO shows that teachers are not ready and have limited access to technology devices as well as internet connection. Okay, now we go to chapter 3, methodology. For the research design, the method we are using now is qualitative research. The design is phenomenological research. The type of phenomenological research is descriptive. And the instruments that will be used is interview only. The population described in this study is the primary school teachers in Kuantan. There are 3,759 teachers in Kuantan. And the sampling technique, the samples are 4 teachers selected by the researcher using purposive sampling. Or it's a type of criterion sampling method using in this study. There are 3 criteria for the teachers to be selected. Number 1 is primary school teachers. Number 2, teachers who teach in Kuantan. And number 3, they have experience in teaching during PdPR. Let's go to the method of data collection. Number 1, interview technique on voluntary basis. And number 2, there are 8 semi-structured questions will be asked during the interview. Number 2, let's go to the data collection procedures. First, we will get the consent form from the participants by giving them the consent form. Number 2, interview will be conducted online via Google Meet platform. For the data analysis, we will interview the participants. After that, the interview will be transcribed. And then, themes or ideas will be identified throughout the interview. Then, data will be coded one by one. The coded data then will be categorized and grouped. The answers of the teachers will be summarized and interpreted by the researcher. The most standout categories or groups will be arranged and key into the Atlas T to get the figure in dimensional graph. Lastly, we'll go to trustworthiness. To check the validity of the findings of the research, we have to ensure the credibility. So in this research, we are going to have 3 steps to ensure the credibility. The first one is using prolonged technique, triangulation, and peer debriefing. And lastly is ethical issue. In this study, we will get or obtain human ethics approval from IIUM. Number 2 is to get consent from the participants. And 3, we also hold on the principles to avoid harms. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.